Good morning, and welcome to the Haventree Parent Podcast, where we get a chance to talk about something that's important to us and hopefully yourself before the kids wake up.
Today, we're going to be talking about eating and healthy eating habits for kids in a culture that promotes those from the get-go. That is the French culture. So we'll be talking a little bit about that and what it is that they do.
So I probably will say I'm excited about this topic because I like food, and the things that we can eat are various. So I'm not afraid to try most things. There are some foods that I try to avoid, and I would imagine that's probably from my upbringing. I'm not a fan of ketchup, so I'm one of those weirdos that doesn't like ketchup. So I would rather dip my fries in a Frosty than ketchup. So,
And then probably of the two of us, I'm the more picky one, right? Would you say that?
I mean, I feel like you'll try something, but you have to know everything about it.
Yeah. So I am very particular about the textures that are in foods. So I don't like a lot of casseroles or foods that are mixed together. Soups are not as bad for me as casseroles, but if I bite into something and I can't identify what's in my mouth, I don't know. I don't like it. And then I really am not okay with the only food I think that I really don't like the taste of is celery. I think my theory is that celery must be like cilantro or something, because I say that the smell of it's terrible and the taste of it's terrible, and people are like, it smells like water. So whereas if Josh really likes celery, so I at first would make him keep it out in the garage fridge because it would make everything in our fridge smell like celery, and I couldn't eat it even when I wasn't pregnant. So celery is a no-go for me. I think it's an abomination. But otherwise, the texture of onions, doesn't matter how small they're cut up. I love onion powder. We use it a lot in our house, a lot. And mushrooms, but the texture of those, it's I bite into it and it's immediate gag. So, and the problem is that's using a lot of things. So that does kind of limit.
It's a good filler.
Yeah. Well, and peppers too, even biting into that texture. I don't know. I like something about the crunch and then soft in the middle. I don't know. It just is just the thought of it gives me the willies right now. So,
but then my weird vegetable is tomatoes. I don't want to touch any of it tomatoes.
Yeah, so it's funny.
Onions questionable, but I'll usually eat an onion. So,
yeah, but when he bites into a raw tomato, you can just see
disgust. It tastes like garbage.
It makes me laugh because I think all of our kids like tomatoes.
Yeah.
So I gave Obi his first cherry tomato yesterday, and he looked at me what did you give me? I'm not sure I'm a fan of this.
Yeah.
So, well, neither of us though are magnificent cooks or chefs or anything of that nature.
I mean, if it's dessert,
Josh gets excited about dessert.
Yeah. I'll make that from scratch. If you want me to make something else from scratch, I'm let's just buy it somewhere.
I do say I have good instincts in that I can take a recipe and make it and adjust it for our family, or adjust the amount of the ingredients, and it always turns out well. I've never had anything like that turn out poorly. But I am definitely not a creative, experimental kind of cook.
Well, I think one of our first Thanksgivings, we were supposed to make the sweet potato casserole, and she doubled up the toppings.
Yeah, well, so that was an accident.
It was an accident, but it was beautiful. So then that set precedent for the rest of every Thanksgiving since then.
So half it was brown sugar and marshmallows and pecans and half sweet potatoes.
So it's always when Thanksgiving starts coming up, we're oh yeah, Katie's making sweet potato casserole because that was amazing because it had triple the layer of
brown
sugar. It was this is good.
Yeah,
it was more like a dessert than it was a sweet potato casserole.
Yeah. So anyway, we and obviously we're both nice and healthy weights. So we like food, and our kids are healthy also. Even though Jay is probably our thinnest, poor girl, she has the cutest, knobbiest niece in the
But
world.
she has the metabolism of something crazy because she'll just
Oh
keep
my
eating and eating,
goodness.
and it's
She
like,
can
how
out
are
eat
you
me.
not?
And I'm
Yeah.
like, maybe we need to have her checked for worms or something. Like, I don't know where
Where's-
she's putting all this
Like
food.
she gets upset because we're right now we're only
It's
making one
so
pizza
funny
for
for the
lunch.
kids.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for them to share.
Yeah. Like, she could eat half of a regular sized pizza by herself. I don't know.
It's her favorite food, so she's like, "Why is there not more pizza?" So
Yeah,
we're like, "We only
so-
put one Red Baron in today." So
Yeah, she makes me laugh. Anyway, so food is something we actually kind of have been cautious about or had thoughts about the way that we talk to our kids about food since Adri was little. Because I am picky about certain things. I wanted my kids to eat better than I did. So like an easy example of that is like, I don't like peppers, like I said. And so one of the things I do and I have always done is I buy raw, like sweet peppers, bell peppers. And that's one of the options for lunch. We always have a vegetable. So it'll be like baby carrots or cucumbers or celery or peppers. And so all of our kids, will
Yeah.
eat like peppers and ranch or peppers and hummus.
right, and I like eating peppers, and I
Yeah.
like eating celery. Obviously, I usually have the kids coat mine in peanut butter with theirs, but
Yeah.
it's
So
always good.
even though it's something that I don't like, it is something that I've been intentional about giving the kids. And I would never say, ooh, I don't like peppers to my kids because they all like them. So there's no reason for me. The only thing, they know that I don't like celery, but daddy's love of celery makes up for it. And so it sort of is like a thing to joke about at home. But otherwise we don't really talk about like, oh, I don't really like this food. Like
Yeah.
Josh early on, this is part of the reason I was chuckling about the tomato thing, because Adri brought him in a tomato from the garden because she was so excited about him, because she loves tomatoes. And
Yeah, and I
gave
like
it to
Josh.
Josh.
Salsa and tomato soup and all that stuff.
And
yeah.
so he ate it, and you could just see his eyes. He was like trying not to gag while he was like, "Thanks, Adri."
I don't want to eat this.
So, it still is a memory that makes me giggle.
Yeah, because
But
you don't want to tell your kid that you don't like something because then they instantly don't like it. Just like when their friends say that they don't like something else, it all becomes oh no, there must be something wrong with it. So why do I like it?
but the French kind of have some ideas about the way that they talk about food, the way that they teach their kids about food that are very different than I think what's culturally sort of the norm here in the United States. There's lots and lots and lots of friends, who have kids and kids across the world who are picky eaters, who don't like lots of things. We had a family member who, her child would eat hardly anything, for a long time. And that's improved some, but, it is something that I think is relatively common in our country. And I think that's unfortunate because it's, or it can contribute to unhealthy eating and unhealthy habits for the next generation of kids when we're not really being conscientious about what we're eating and the habits that we're teaching our kids.
Sure, and I mean, and this is an ongoing conversation. Obviously, I think when I was coming out of high school, there was the whole supersize me era type of stuff that was
Right.
like, well, if I eat this every day, every meal, what'll happen? So
Yeah.
you have to have a variety. I think that's what that showed, was you have to have variety.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the French obviously are doing, is creating a way to make just different a variety of fruits appear on the table, so that way their kids are more introduced to different tastes.
Well, and research says our country is 3 times more likely to produce overweight kids than France. In fact, our country is responsible for the majority of the overweight kids in the world. And I think that's something that we need to take seriously, and like we said in a past podcast, I think that it's definitely something that you can't judge a kid or a book by its cover, so to speak. There have been several points of times where Kenzie looks like a balloon animal. I mean, she just looks really overweight. Like she must only eat like French fries and not even any protein,
Right.
She was on steroids. Like she was on steroids fighting cancer, fighting for her life, and it wasn't, I mean, she still preferred salads, and we fought with the hospital because they wouldn't let her have a salad because she was a toddler. And,
Yeah.
So like you can't, look at some kid walking down the street and say like, oh, there's another overweight kid, like, congrats, America. Because there's lots of other reasons. But I do think, it is important as parents for us to be thinking about our own kids and what's happening.
Right. Right. Yeah. You can't judge everybody's circumstances, but
yeah. So one of the things that I read that I thought was interesting is they said French parents teach their children to eat the way we teach our children to read, with love, patience, and firm persistence, exposing children to a wide variety of tastes, flavors, and textures. I thought it was like a very beautiful way of sort of explaining the difference. But, I think for me, eating is, like something I got to do. It's enjoyable sometimes because food is good. But I think, there's sort of like a perception about like the what do you want to call it? Like the mood around eating, that it's like a social environment. I don't know. You're looking at me like you're going to say something.
I was trying to figure out the mood you're trying to describe. I'm like, and the mood is, I don't know. I want to jump in and help you.
No, I need some more caffeine this morning. That's what I do need.
Yeah,
Because the brain is like only, at 30% capacity functioning right now.
We'll get there.
So, but the French teach their kids that food that's good for you, also tastes good. So, we start with like rice cereal is sort of like the first food babies eat. They start with like leek soup, spinach, and beets, which I eat spinach. We've had like beet chips before, but like I can't say leeks or beets are a regular food choice in our house at all. Mm-hmm. So, but like if that's what kids grow up sort of expecting, that, is going to change the dynamic of the way that they eat. Or, even like the simple comment of saying like, yeah, I know broccoli's gross, but we need to eat it because it's good for you. Like that's really going to go a long way to encourage your kids to want to eat broccoli, right? Like it's, and it's those subtle things that our kids pick up on, even though we really don't want them to, that are going to make the biggest difference sometimes. So
yeah, and it's weird because the kids are even now, like as we're getting into older stages, like with more foods and varieties, they're all starting to pick their favorite vegetable types or something like that. So like Kenzie really likes carrots, and then she loves broccoli, so she'll always take a bag of broccoli and enjoy that.
Oh, she'll eat like a whole like family sized bag of broccoli by herself.
Yeah.
Like I've had to make like triple what I used to make because of Kenzie.
Right. And then Jay will eat all the green beans, and I think Sai is the most fought on vegetables. So.
Yeah.
But then Adri's the most fought on protein. So it's like.
I disagree with that. I think Adri really doesn't like a lot of like, she likes like potatoes, but like she doesn't like rice. She doesn't like mashed potatoes. She doesn't really like corn. So a lot of those really carby, starchy things she's not a fan of.
True. And she loves salad. So,
yeah. So, kind of some other like things that they do. No dish can be repeated more than once per month, which I was like, sheesh. Yeah, but again, like I'm not a creative cook, so
we have our 7-day plan. All right, 7 days, we'll make it all again.
I know. Well, I'm not quite that bad, but like there's definitely like categories. Like Monday, I'll have like a crock pot meal. Tuesdays is pretty much always Taco Tuesday, or some kind of.
Yeah, the kids love Taco Tuesday.
They get so excited. Yeah,
we missed it. We need to do it today anyway.
And so on. Like one day, pretty much Josh will grill something. So we definitely kind of have our categories that we rotate through, and there are certainly foods that we eat weekly, or most weeks.
Yeah.
So and I really liked this. The French ask, "Are you still hungry?" Not, "Are you full?" So, and that's not something that we're good at doing, actually. One of the things that I do think is important just for kids developmentally is that you teach them how to listen to their bodies when they're eating. And that there's nothing wrong with stopping eating when they're full. But I think it's really important in that regard to consider appropriate portion sizes for your child based on their age. Because that'll help you, if you give them too much of a portion and then they eat only the French fries. And then, you say, well, have you been listening to your body? They may be full after they eat the French fries because you gave them way more than they needed. But I think it's great to encourage our kids to listen to their bodies. I think that is one thing that does set them up for good success in the future, and healthy eating habits. But I do like the idea of saying, are you hungry? Instead of are you full?
Right.
Because you don't necessarily need to eat every time until you're stuffed to the gills, right? Like it's enough to eat to not be starving anymore. So I thought that was interesting. The French also don't allow snacking, and snack foods have warnings like cigarettes in ads and things like that, which I was really interesting. That, they take that very seriously, that it is dangerous. It can, be hazardous to your health, so to speak, to snack.
Yeah. And the two things that I remember reading about that method or whatever for their cultural setup on that is that they have it basically, I think it's against the law or not, it's not recommended to have snack machines or vending machines at schools or, quickly available around children's locations. I would imagine that, adult work locations still have those, but like there's not a vending machine area at the high school or schools or something like that. And they also, I think they called us out on like always having snack bags provided, like whenever we take our kids anywhere. It's like, we have a fear of fussy kids because they're hungry, and they're like, that's important for them to be hungry. So when they get home, they're ready to eat this variety of meal or whatever, this new thing that we have planned for the day. And we're like, oh no, the kids are upset. It's probably because they're hungry. And so we, instantly we go to the fast food. And I think they have what they call the slow food method, where it's like, you got to eat when it's time to eat, not snack throughout the entire day. Like she said, there's warning labels on those snack items. So.
Yeah. That's interesting though, about like bringing snack bags with you. Like, cause I feel like for me, if I have remembered to like pack a snack when we go somewhere, like I feel like I'm doing a really good job as a parent, right?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
I'm giving you
our culture that we're afraid of our kids being hungry.
Yeah. So like, I'm like, man, I'm on top of this mom thing today. I packed a snack. Like we're not going to have to stop for fast food. But then on the flip side of that, there's definitely an aspect of like, we're in the checkout line at the grocery store and the toddler starts screaming like, here's some Cheerios. Like, I don't know what you need, but just shut up. Here's some food. And it's like, it's sort of built into us that we just kind of like throw food at them to make them stop. Well, like, how is that setting them up for healthy eating habits? Because then when you're, 22 and you're emotionally eating because you're sad or stressed.
Right.
Like, thanks, mom and dad, for starting that at the earliest age,
Yeah.
And certainly that doesn't all rest on parents. There's a lot of other variables that can play into that.
Well, I mean, and then there's the events that like request snacks be brought. It's like, here we're going to have a soccer game. And then after the soccer game, this parent group is going to bring the snacks.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, absolutely.
versus,
it's very pervasive in our culture.
Yeah. Versus just bring water or whatever and then go home and eat. Or go out to eat with whoever, the winning team or however that works. And I think, what was I going to say? I had a thought and I lost it. That always happens to me.
I was so excited about your thought about the snack bags, though. I thought that was brilliant.
Oh, good. Well, thank you.
So
that's what it was.
Go ahead.
There was a dad that tweeted something on our feed or whatever. And, not to us, but I just saw it in the homepage. And it basically said, like, I just found out that packing snacks for my kids to go to church doesn't mean that it has to be for the kids. It could be for me too.
Yeah. And, and we will pack snacks for us. Like,
right.
So, and I think that's a really important, like, point. I think it should be obvious, but like, regardless of what we say, our kids are going to do what we do. Right. So like, if they see us like it's not enough to feed our kids healthy food and then eat McDonald's every day ourselves, right? It's not enough to feed our kids a healthy meal and then eat junk or eat dessert or have snacks in between. Like if our kids don't have snacks, we shouldn't be having snacks either. Like
Right.
that's, so I think it's really important. The most important thing we can do is model by doing it repeatedly and all the time. Punzi has joined the conversation. Poor little girl got hopped up on daddy.
For those watching on YouTube, here she is.
Sweet baby. She's been really, I don't know, needy, clingy, affectionate.
Yeah.
She's been a lot more. So Punzi's the one that sleeps in our bed every night. Some of the other dogs kind of like rotate through or go to a kid's bed, different things like that. If they keep having accidents, then they go back in the crate for a little bit. But Punzi has always been like away from us, and here lately every time I wake up she's like on my legs or like I don't know what her deal is right now, but that's all right. We just got an Amazon delivery at
Sweet.
whatever time it is.
Hey,
6 o'clock in the morning.
I'll take
How
it.
is that? I don't understand.
It's not 6. I'm pretty sure it's like 8.
I don't think it's quite that late yet, but okay, so scientists say parents should expect kids to reject new foods. It's an inbuilt response to something that's new, and that's just part of like human nature, is that we don't like new things, don't like things we don't know how to expect. It's kind of a survival mechanism, because a new thing could be a poisonous berry or like
right.
So there is kind of like a protective mechanism, that we don't just eat new things. And I think that's one of the reasons that it's great to expose your kids to as many foods as you can while they're still infants. Because then the more that you expose them to, the younger they are, the less like they're going to be to reject those because they haven't yet recognized that that's new. And then as they're a toddler, when they become more picky, those aren't issues. So that is a valuable tool in your tool belt, so to speak, for having a kid that has a better, more well-rounded diet. So it's actually interesting. Our plan was to talk about the French culture, but I actually came across something from a different culture that I thought I would throw in here. So a different article I was reading said in Indian culture, there's a ceremony called Annaprasana. I have no idea if I'm pronouncing it properly, but that's how it looks.
Okay.
That marks the baby's first taste of solid food. From that point on, you're eating what the family eats rather than milk. So again, so they're really talking about like baby-led weaning almost, where like as soon as the baby's not solely relying on mom's milk, they're eating, foods from the table, which again, if it can be done safely, is a great way to introduce your kid to a variety of foods rather than starting them on baby food, because then you have to make the transition from baby food to real food. So if you're able to feed them the variety of spices and textures and colors that you want them to eat as they grow, that's wonderful. All of our kids, except Jamie's a little bit more sensitive to it. But again, she wasn't exposed to it as early. All of our kids really like spicy foods, They have a better tolerance for spice than some of my adult friends. But that's because they're used to eating that. They've been allowed to eat it. They've been allowed to try it off of my plate when when they were toddlers. And I would say, this is spicy, and have water ready. But I would let them try it, And a lot of times the one try was good enough for them at the moment. But then they've been exposed to this, spice, and they don't later have it again like, what, and instead they're like, oh, this is something that mom eats. This is something that dad likes. And so they're more likely and excited to eat it as they grow. And Adria is that way. So one thing I really like to eat is cooked spinach with vinegar. And it's something I grew up eating, and I just really enjoy it. Like, get a can of spinach out of the pantry and like eat it for lunch. And I ate tons of it when I was pregnant.
It's not the only weird food she likes to eat.
Oh, please. And I ate tons of it when I was pregnant with Sai. And so Adri was like let me have some, And so she and I would like, that would be lunch, eat a can of spinach, and she would eat tons. Now she won't touch it because I like then went through a phase where I'd had it too much and didn't want it at all. But again, like if they see you do that, then they want to imitate that. They're kids.
Yeah.
Like it's exciting to do what mom and dad are allowed to do.
Yeah, it must taste good, so I have to have this thing.
Right. And not deterring them from that. Like not saying, oh no, it's too spicy, you can't have it. Like, warning them like
just get a cup of water ready.
Like how, be responsible, be appropriate. Don't like dare them. Like on the flip side, I don't really like the idea of like, ooh, have a lemon, like to tease kids. But I don't think that there's anything wrong with allowing them to try those things.
Yeah.
So another researcher said, the most important thing is for parents to eat what they want their kids to eat. Don't even bring the other foods in the house. And we go through phases of this in our house. But
It's usually my fault. I'm like, I found this thing. Oh, I'm gonna eat
Josh like brings home snacks and things. I'm like, we don't, like for it to be a special thing once in a very infrequent while, that's fine. But like, just don't have them in the house. Like, if you don't have them in the house, you're not going to eat them. Your kids aren't going to eat them. Like, it's a very easy thing to do.
Yeah. It's mostly because if you go back and watch all of our series from the acts of love language, I like to do the acts of service or provide and, get affirmation from that or whatever. So,
and I really like this quote. As one pediatrician says, expect your children to eat one meal, play with one meal, and reject one meal. But unless there's an underlying medical health condition, they're not going to let themselves starve. And this is sort of at the heart of what we've always done with our kids. Breakfast is pretty plain. Once upon a time, I would make like eggs and things for them often. Now it's like you can have cereal, and it's like plain cereal. It's not like sugared cereal. It's like, like Chex or Cheerios or what are those like frosted wheats or whatever they are, except they're not frosted, they're just plain. Like, so it's not a sugary cereal. We're talking like literally very plain cereal, or like a granola bar, or sometimes I will make like pancakes or waffles and freeze them. But that sort of is there, or they eat a lot of. So the other thing, and I was just thinking I need to add this to my grocery list, but they do.
Probably should have had our list here while we're talking about everything.
I know. They do eat a lot of yogurt with granola on it, and that is something that they really like. But that's sort of breakfast. We'll do like once a week-ish, we'll do like a big family breakfast, and make, like bacon and eggs and waffles. But that's breakfast. Lunch is like a peanut butter sandwich or a cheese sandwich or a sandwich with salami or turkey or ham or whatever.
Recently, they've been trying to do like butter sandwiches, and I'm like, can you at least put something
you need
else
protein.
in there? It can't just be butter and bread. I mean, I'm all for butter and bread when it's time to do that. I love grilled cheese and stuff like that.
Yeah, you can't have a butter sandwich. You need protein in your sandwich, and then a fruit and a vegetable. And that's like a raw fruit and vegetable.
Yeah. Like I said, I think their whole bottom drawer is
so like
carrots.
They have, a bag of or a apples. We go through a lot of apples in our house. Other fruits that are on sale. And then, like I said, veggies, we have, cucumbers and carrots and celery and peppers. And sometimes I'll cut up like lettuce and let them have a salad. They all really get excited about salads. And let them have that with ranch or hummus. And that's lunch. Sometimes I'll let them have popcorn or like a chips or something. We don't really keep a lot of chips in our house usually. Like mostly if it's chips, it'll be like tortilla chips and salsa.
Right.
Because that is something that they eat a lot of in our house. And then dinner is sort of our meal that I prepare, our bigger meal. And they don't always eat it. But I figure they had breakfast, they had lunch. If they don't eat all of dinner, such is life.
Yeah, everybody has. The thing is, you have to take a bite of one of all the things. So
you have to take so in our house, you have to take a bite of everything, and not a lick, like one bite.
Yeah.
And if you want seconds of anything on your plate, you have to eat everything on your plate. So I spent a lot of time researching appropriate serving sizes for different kids. And it was something that for a while we were like measuring it because we wanted to kind of develop that habit of like, how much is appropriate, you know,
Yeah.
like, because I don't think we have that well established in our brains, even as adults.
Right. I think I always like get upset at that point because it's like as soon as you start looking at serving sizes, I'm like,
This is it?
2 Oreos is never enough Oreos. That's no way that's a serving. I need a whole row or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So we're not, we're not good at identifying serving sizes by eye. So we did spend some time like measuring it just so that we had an idea of what that really looked like. And now we just eyeball it. I can't tell you the last time I measured something. It's probably been 6 years.
Well, yeah.
As far as like for the kids.
For some reason, I get random numbers stuck in my head. And so like I can tell you random numbers that are like the serving size of something. But,
Yeah, it's okay.
I'm not going to go rattle through all of it right now because that'd be too weird.
But, so we give them appropriate serving sizes of each thing for their age. And so then if they want more, steak, we had steak for dinner last night. If they want more steak, they do have to eat.
It was good. I needed another stomach to keep eating that steak.
They do need to eat all of their, what do we have? Macaroni and all of their broccoli. Oh no, we had salad, but whatever.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
you can't have more of anything unless you eat your other things first. Right.
Yeah. And everybody did a really good job. So
Oh yeah. They were all very
I
excited.
don't know what happened to the macaroni. Did I get put away?
I did. It's okay.
Good.
So, but that's kind of how we do. And we have really good eaters, but we also have kids that skip meals. Adri does not always eat breakfast. Adri is not a morning person. She takes an hour or two to like really wake up and be ready for the day. And so like a lot of times at like 11 o'clock, she'll be like, can I have breakfast now? And I'm like, no, we're having lunch in...
Wait 30 minutes, we're going to make something.
Right. So, so it's like with that, I sort of, keep reinforcing like you chose not to eat at breakfast time. You chose to do other things. You chose to, be pokey and cleaning up your room this morning or putting your dirty clothes in your laundry hamper and brushing your teeth.
Mm-hmm.
And
play, wake up. Yeah.
Right. You've missed the opportunity for breakfast time. And she, she's gotten a lot better at that. We kind of went through a phase. But she is getting a lot better with that. But she skips breakfast a lot. And Sai sometimes will eat like a bite of everything for dinner. He's probably our pickiest
Well, and
kid.
he's our biggest breakfast eater too. So once
Yeah,
he's
like
had
he
breakfast,
eats a lot of breakfast. He eats lunch, no problem. He's not like starving.
He's always the one that's eating breakfast. At least for the last month
yeah.
or two, he's been really good about it. So
Yeah. But then dinner, sometimes he will, but a lot of times it's like,
Mm-hmm.
So, and then we don't, if they've missed a meal or like something weird happened, or I know that they really are genuinely hungry, I'll say like, you can get some carrots or you can have an apple. But I do not let them snack throughout the day. That's just not, I don't know. We just don't do it.
yeah.
So we've got that one right. But I do, like obviously when Kenzie was sick and they were worried about her weight gain, we had to be really cautious and conscientious of that. But, in general, I do completely agree with the idea, like, unless there's a medical issue or a sensory issue, kids aren't going to let themselves go hungry.
Mm-hmm.
They really don't need as much food as we think that they need.
Yeah.
So I think that it's, something that, you can certainly...
Right. 2 Oreos is enough. So.
Right. For you and for them.
Yeah.
Something I need to remind myself often as well.
Sadly.
But, and I would definitely say, like, if it's something that you're really struggling with your kids, and you are continuing to expose them, even if they reject it 10 times, like, continue to make it for them. Continue for it to be the only thing that you offer them for dinner. You know, if they're getting breakfast and lunch and eating that well, if they don't eat all their dinner, but they continue to see it and smell it. Eventually they'll get there. Like have faith that your kids are not, would not die in earlier times, right?
Right.
Like they have survival instincts. Kids are not helpless or stupid,
So, like we said, we're not very good at meal planning and coming up with creative ideas. So, if there's something really good that we should be trying or introducing to our own diets and to the kids, put that in the comments or
Yeah, we'd
tell
love to
us
hear
about it. So,
what you guys do.
yeah, and just any other thoughts you had on any of this. So,
Yeah.
follow, like, subscribe, do all those things, and we'll see you on the next adventure.